What if I told you that the serpent in Genesis wasn't actually a serpent? Everything you thought you knew about the story of Adam and Eve might need a dramatic re-evaluation. Stay tuned, because the truth is more fascinating than you could imagine. The story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is one of the most well-known tales in the Bible. At the center of this narrative is the cunning serpent who tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, leading to humanity's fall from grace. Traditionally, this serpent has been viewed as a literal snake, a creature of deceit and temptation. But what if we've been misinterpreting this character all along? In this video, we're going to delve into the original Hebrew text of the book of Genesis and uncover a hidden truth that challenges our conventional understanding. By the end, you'll see the story in a completely new light, armed with insights that have profound implications for our interpretation of this ancient text. The book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is a foundational text for both Judaism and Christianity. Traditionally attributed to Moses, it contains stories that have shaped religious thought for millennia. The tale of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is particularly significant as it addresses themes of innocence, temptation, and the human condition. Understanding the true nature of the characters in this story is crucial for a deeper comprehension of its message. To understand the true nature of the serpent, we must go back to the original Hebrew text of Genesis. In Genesis 3:1, the serpent is introduced with the Hebrew word Nahash. This word is typically translated as serpent or snake in most English versions of the Bible. However, Hebrew is a complex and nuanced language, and Nahash has layers of meaning that go beyond a simple translation. The Hebrew word Nahash can indeed mean serpent, but it also has other meanings. In some contexts, Nahash can refer to a diviner or one who practices enchantment. This dual meaning opens the door to a different interpretation of the serpent's identity. Instead of a mere snake, Nahash could imply a being with supernatural knowledge or powers. Scholars have debated the true nature of the serpent for centuries. Some argue that Nahash should be understood metaphorically, representing a force of chaos or a rebellious divine being. Others suggest that the serpent was not a literal snake, but a symbolic figure, possibly even a fallen angel or a manifestation of Satan. One prominent interpretation is that the serpent represents a divine rebel, similar to Prometheus in Greek mythology, who challenges the established order and brings knowledge to humanity. This perspective casts the serpent not as a mere deceiver, but as a complex figure with a dual role as both tempter and enlightener. Let's explore some of the alternative identities of the serpent based on this broader understanding of Nahash. 1. Divine being. Some scholars propose that the serpent was a divine being, possibly a lesser god or a demigod. This interpretation aligns with ancient Near Eastern mythology, where serpents were often associated with wisdom and immortality. In various mythologies, serpents are seen as powerful, wise, and even benevolent creatures. For instance, in ancient Mesopotamian mythology, the god Ningizida, associated with vegetation and the underworld, was often depicted as a serpent or with serpentine features. Similarly, in Egyptian mythology, the cobra was a symbol of the goddess Wadjet, representing protection and royal authority. These cultural contexts suggest that serpents were not merely symbols of deceit, but were also revered for their perceived knowledge and power. By considering the serpent in Genesis as a divine being, we can see it as a figure that possesses profound wisdom and a unique relationship with the divine. This interpretation suggests that the serpent's temptation of Eve was not merely an act of deception, but a complex interaction involving divine knowledge and human free will. 2. Symbol of chaos. In many ancient cultures, serpents symbolized chaos and disorder. The serpent in Genesis could represent the disruptive forces that challenge divine order and test humanity's obedience. This view is supported by the serpent's role in leading Adam and Eve to disobey God, introducing chaos into the previously harmonious existence in the Garden of Eden. Ancient myths often depict serpents as embodiments of primordial chaos. For example, in Babylonian mythology, the chaos monster Tiamat, often described as a serpent or dragon, represents the chaotic forces that the god Marduk must overcome to create the world. Similarly, in Norse mythology, the Midgard serpent, Jörmungandr, is a giant sea serpent that threatens the order of the world. Applying this symbolic framework to the Genesis narrative, the serpent can be seen as an agent of chaos, testing the boundaries of human obedience and divine order. 3. Metaphorical figure. Another view is that the serpent is a metaphorical figure embodying the inner conflict between obedience to God and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. This interpretation emphasizes the moral and philosophical dimensions of the story, suggesting that the serpent represents the human inclination to seek knowledge and challenge divine boundaries. From this perspective, the serpent can be seen as a symbol of human curiosity and the desire for self-determination. The act of eating the forbidden fruit is not just an act of disobedience, but a profound statement about human nature and the quest for understanding. The serpent, therefore, becomes a representation of the internal struggle that every person faces, the choice between adhering to established rules and exploring the unknown. This metaphorical interpretation aligns with various philosophical and literary traditions that explore the theme of forbidden knowledge. For instance, in John Milton's Paradise Lost, the serpent Satan tempts Eve by appealing to her desire for wisdom and autonomy. Similarly, the story of Prometheus in Greek mythology, who defies the gods to bring fire and knowledge to humanity, echoes the themes of defiance and enlightenment. Understanding the serpent as more than a literal snake transforms our interpretation of the Genesis story. If the serpent is a divine rebel or a symbol of chaos, the narrative takes on a richer, more complex meaning. It becomes a tale of divine-human interaction, the quest for knowledge, and the struggle between order and chaos. With this new perspective, let's revisit the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Instead of seeing the serpent as a mere trickster, we can view it as a catalyst for humanity's journey toward knowledge and self-awareness. The act of eating the forbidden fruit represents a pivotal moment in human history, the transition from innocence to understanding, from blind obedience to conscious choice. This reinterpretation has profound theological implications. It challenges the traditional view of the serpent as purely evil and invites us to consider the possibility of a more nuanced character. It also raises questions about the nature of temptation and the role of divine beings in human affairs. Was the serpent's temptation a necessary part of God's plan for humanity's development? Was the pursuit of knowledge an inevitable and essential step in our evolution? For modern readers and believers, this new understanding of the serpent can enrich their faith and deepen their appreciation of biblical texts. It encourages us to approach the Bible with an open mind, recognizing the complexity and depth of its stories. It also highlights the importance of studying the original languages and cultural contexts to fully grasp the meanings embedded in these ancient texts. In Genesis 3:1, the introduction of the serpent reads, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, 'Did God actually say, "You shall not eat of any tree in the garden"?'" In this verse, the term crafty, Hebrew arum, suggests intelligence and shrewdness. If we consider Nahash as a divine or semi-divine being, this intelligence could imply a deeper understanding of divine matters, positioning the serpent as a knowledgeable figure rather than a simple deceiver. In Genesis 3, 4, 5, the serpent's temptation is described, but the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Here, the serpent's promise of enlightenment aligns with the concept of a divine rebel bringing knowledge to humanity. This passage can be seen as the serpent encouraging a pursuit of wisdom and self-awareness, challenging the established divine order for the sake of human growth. Prometheus, a titan in Greek mythology, defied Zeus by stealing fire and giving it to humanity. This act of rebellion brought knowledge and progress to humans, albeit with severe consequences for Prometheus. The parallels between Prometheus and the serpent in Genesis highlight a recurring theme in mythologies: the tension between divine authority and the quest for human enlightenment. Nature of biblical characters and stories allows for a richer and more meaningful engagement with the text. The serpent's role as both tempter and enlightener adds depth to the story of Adam and Eve, prompting readers to reflect on the complexities of human nature and the pursuit of knowledge. Contexts of these ancient writings can reveal deeper insights and more nuanced meanings. This approach fosters a more informed and enriched faith experience. Recognizing the multifaceted, the story of the serpent in Genesis is just one example of how deeper exploration can reveal profound insights.